Hi, my name is Carly Ashnault, and I hope you found that video very insightful. Today I will be talking about cyberbullying. As you can see, I'm sitting in my kitchen. I thought, what would be more appropriate than doing a presentation about cyberbullying where it occurs 50% of the time, at home. Students, when asked, will say yes to being cyberbullied every 1 out of 10 students. The Youth Risk Behavior survey that has been conducted by the National Center for Education reports that 7% of students in grades 6 through 12 have been cyberbullied before. In addition to that, the Youth Risk Behavior survey finds that 15% of those students continue on in education to be cyberbullied or bullied in real life. Now, as educators, we all know that this is a real issue. So I'd like you to take a look at this next chart and just take notice to the statistics. We have a wider range of students from ages 14 to 17 that increase by at least 15% who have been bullied, that were bullied in the past, starting at age 10. If we catch on to this early enough, those students should not have to go through that anymore because it should have been done and dealt with when we first caught on to it. However, cyberbullying is the number 3 cause of suicide among teens because it's not highly reported and it's hard to identify unless the student comes forward themselves. Throughout this presentation, I am going to be showing you some red flags and how to identify cyberbullying if you think a student that you know or maybe your own child is experiencing the negative side effects of being cyberbullied. So, for a minute, I would like to stop and I would just like to show you a quick video link. This is a video of a TED Talk. I'm not actually going to play the TED Talk link, but I'm just going to show you where it is throughout this presentation. It's a really good resource for you to use if you're a parent or if you think maybe you would want to watch it at home. I do recommend pre-screening this TED Talk before choosing to show it to any youth. It is a little harsh. Okay, so now that you saw where the link was, and it should be on page 6, I believe, of this presentation, we're going to go over some of the red flags. So the first thing to notice is that in all bullying cases, but especially cyberbullying, students start to become hesitant to be online or unexpectedly stop and avoid using the computer or their cell phone when an adult figure is coming around. This is very noticeable, especially when it comes to teenagers, because they have their noses buried in their phones, and normally they don't care who's talking to them, they're going to continue on what they're doing. However, it is shown that a student who has been cyberbullied will notice the adult, put the phone down, and act like nothing has happened. A student also becomes nervous when a text message or an instant message, sometimes even an email, appears on their phone. And that is a sign that a student is receiving things that might not necessarily be appropriate or that the student is fearful of what they might read. If a student becomes visibly upset, angry, or depressed after using a computer or a cell phone, that is definitely a red flag that you want to be notified of. If you're in a school, computers usually are filtered and they usually have a screen on them where you can look at their history. So if you notice that a student is looking at a computer or is on a computer and you think that they really are becoming angry at what they're seeing, then that would be a reason that I would go into the history and maybe look at what is causing them to get so angry and why it's occurring. Along with what I had said before with students hesitating to be online or avoiding using the computer, if they hide or clear the computer screen when you walk by as well, that would be a red flag to look for. One big thing that occurs in most bullying situations, and we do see it a lot for our students who have been or are being cyberbullied, they start to withdraw from friends and they avoid school or peer activities. Now, this is a red flag for multiple situations, not just cyberbullying. However, if you're seeing that in conjunction with the other red flags that I've mentioned previously, that would be something to consider as well. That would just add to the affect that the student's personality is changing and that the student has something going on that you need to be aware of. Some other red flags that you can look for if you're a parent, this is more so if you are with a student after school, if the student's uneasy about going outside alone or without their ride, that could be a factor that they might think, okay, I don't want to go outside alone because X, Y, and Z is going to happen, or I'm going to be picked on. So that is a huge thing to look for. Students who are very avoidant of being in situations by themselves. Poor attendance to school, that's something to be noticed because that could be that there's a bullying situation happening that we don't know about. However, for a student who has poor attendance at school and then starts to have perfect attendance, that's a reverse side effect, but also something you need to be aware of because it could mean that there is a bullying situation happening out home, outside of school, or even in school. Students who pull away from close relatives, who have a change in affect, who are suddenly withdrawn or upset or have very, very marked changes in personal behaviors, those are all red flags and students that we would want to talk to and should be referred to a guidance counselor. If you happen to be around the student and know their daily routine, you can see a loss of appetite, sometimes excessive mood changes, or they cry very easily. Those are also red flags. Now for you teachers, the biggest one is going to be the drop in academic performance or falling behind in schoolwork. A student who is normally very competent and on top of their schoolwork, and you're seeing this very drastically, would definitely be something you want to report. So next in this presentation, what I'm going to do is guide you through the different websites that we have found that are very helpful for children. So this slide shows One Kid Can Make a Difference. These are 2 different videos of children ages 12 and I believe ages 11 who have created artistically videos and music videos about their bullying experiences and about cyberbullying and what they've gone through. Those are really good resources, especially for the kids, because these children are famous. So when the kids see somebody that they look up to standing up for something that they should be standing up for, it's really impactful. Just like for us, if we see one of our role models doing something good, then it makes us want to do something good. The third thing on here is the Pacer Kids Against Bullying website. It's a really good website, even resource to give out to parents. It's a definition of cyberbullying. It has activities. It has a quiz. It has what to do, what to look for, how can we help. A really, really good resource. The second page is resources more for parents and teachers, and then they can decide if they want to give those resources down to the children because the topics are a little harsher. So we have some websites and the TED Teen Talk listed on here as well that we talked about before. At the bottom, if you'll notice, feeling down is the quote, and then it says, talk to a trained crisis counselor. This is a hotline for students, and they can text this number anytime, 24/7. They're available all day, all night. If they're feeling like they need someone to talk to, if they feel like they're in crisis, if they feel like, they just don't have anywhere else to turn, this hotline is totally free and is completely confidential. Now, there will be slight changes to the confidentiality, just like in counseling. If a student makes it known that they're going to hurt themselves or hurt others, then whoever's talking to them has an obligation to tell somebody else. But this hotline is great. There's a bunch of teen hotlines, teen helplines, where students help students, teenagers help teenagers, and they kind of just, are there and ready to talk, just like any crisis hotline, for students to really be able to feel like somebody's out there and somebody cares. Because when a student is being bullied or going through something, especially cyberbullying, where it's so internal and anonymous and very hard to identify, students feel like nobody else has ever gone through it and nobody ever will be able to help them because they don't understand. And hotlines like this really allow those students to try to connect with somebody and feel like they know what they're going through and they're not alone. So it's really important that we preach that message to our kids, as well as teach them to be upstanders instead of bystanders. Now, I'm currently in the middle school setting for my internship, and this is really what made me want to do a presentation on cyberbullying. Every day you see students going back and forth on social media, making comments, inappropriate or appropriate, but the interaction has changed from face-to-face interaction to screen-to-screen interaction. And there's nothing wrong with that. We just need to prepare our children and our students to make the right decisions when they're going behind a screen or communicating electronically. So I hope you have found this presentation enlightening. Attached with this presentation are additional handouts, something you can use in class, just how to identify bullying, what is a bully, some posters, you can print them out. If you have any questions, you feel free to contact me, please. My email address is s1079521@monmouth.edu. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope it really helped you and opened your eyes to what cyberbullying could be like.